So in my job and in my life, I've made it a practice of meeting people, interesting people, professional people that I work with, friends, colleagues, all sorts of people. I meet people for a living, basically. And as an engineer and someone who spends a lot of time thinking about, my time and how I can use my time wisely, one of the systems I came up with a while ago is something I call the Contact Upkeep Engine, or CUE for short. I'll explain the naming in a minute, but I found in my career and in my life, introducing people, meeting people, was never really the challenge. The hard part was keeping up with people over time. And in the last 10 years of my career, a lot of the value from those relationships has come way down the line from meeting someone. Right? It's very rare that you meet someone and something very cool happens. But I can give you countless, countless examples of where I met someone 5 years ago and then some really cool opportunity comes by way of that relationship. And the only way to capitalize on those opportunities and that serendipity, and maybe it's for them too, it's not just selfishly, I mean for other people, but is to keep up with people. So meeting people is the hard, or excuse me, is the easy part. Keeping up with people is the really hard part. And so I read a book a few years ago called Getting Things Done. And this is David Allen. It's a classic for kind of productivity, efficiency. It's great, a great book. GTD has a lot of systems in place and things that I think are really good practices to build. But one of the things that he talks about is this Tickler file, and it's a file drawer in a cabinet, and he puts all of his things, everything goes onto a piece of paper, goes in the Tickler file, and that's how he gets everything out of his brain onto a page where he can organize it, and he doesn't have to think about it until it happens. And so the way the system is set up, and the CUE, the Connection Upkeep Engine, CUE, is really just a mini Tickler file. And so you can read all about the system. If you just search GTD Tickler file, you'll see what it is. But again, in his system, it lives in a big file cabinet drawer. I wanted something smaller. I didn't want to have to deal with file folders and big sheets of paper. I wanted index cards. And so really all it is, if you look in this box, there are little tabs, and there are 31 tabs for the days of the month, and then there are 12 tabs for the months of the year. I've also added in a tab for index. I'll explain that in a second. The index is really just all the individual cards are put onto a list, and that's the index. So if I'm ever swapping cards in, adding cards or taking them out, I can add them to the index. That just helps me kind of keep track of all the cards, because as an analog system, I love it. It's right here on my desk, but the problem is as you shift through the system, it's kind of hard to keep track. So having an index file is kind of a good idea. But what I do is whenever I realize there's somebody or either a person or a company that I want to keep up with, I can put their name on a card, and then I can choose a frequency with which to keep up with them. So I usually do 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, or 12 month, right? So that's 12 times a year, 4 times a year, twice a year, or once a year. And with their name on a card, I can take notes on the back. That's super easy. I put them into, if I just met with them today and we're in July, so if I want to meet with them in 3 months, I take their card and I put it into the October tab, right? And so in this box, you can see there are probably 150 different cards. And then what happens is at the beginning of every month, I take the cards for that month. So in August, I'll take all the August cards and I'll separate them up into the individual days of the week. And so I only reach out to people on work days, so Monday through Friday, and sometimes I'm taking off, so I remove those days. But I take the cards, and it's usually 30 to 40 cards per month, sometimes uh, more, 60 to 80, but you can use as however many you want. I take those cards and I just drop them. I shuffle them up and drop them into the individual days of the month that I'm going to be working. And so there's usually 2 or 3 cards per day. And then every day when I come to the office or every time I check my queue, I just go to today's date and there'll be 2 or 3 cards in there. I don't know who they are. It really doesn't matter. It's just somebody that I've decided I want to keep up with once a month, every 3 months, every 6 months, or every 12 months. And that's how I'm reminded to reach out to that person. So then I'll reach out and I'll make a little note on the back. And sometimes it's just to reach out, call to check in. Sometimes it's an email check in. Sometimes it's inviting for coffee or lunch. But it makes it so that I don't have to think about it. And the thing I love about the analog version of the system is the cards don't move on in the system, don't get reshuffled back into the system until I've done something about it. So I felt like with a lot of digital systems, it's really easy to kind of cancel and move past and not actually do the action that you're supposed to, it's kind of easy to sweep it under the rug. But with the analog system, there's no hiding. If I don't move those cards, they don't get moved. And so if I forget for a couple of days or get out of sync or go away and come back and those cards are still there, right? So if I leave on the 5th and don't come back for the 10th, or I miss a whole week, those cards are still there. So I know exactly what I need to do to catch up, and it's really easy. And then I just work each card, put it into the next month, if again, depending on if it's 1, 3, 6, or 12 months later. And there's always a way to go through. And again, I don't have to think about it. The system just kind of works itself. So if you're in a business or in life, and again, I'm in sales, most people aren't, but pretty much everybody is selling. If you're in business, you kind of are selling. I think this GTD, getting things done, again, I just don't like the name Tickler File, so I came up with the Q. But I love that this is mobile. I can take this home with me. I can take it on the road with me. It doesn't take up much room at all, and it's secure. Like these cards won't fall out of the box. This has been a game changer in keeping up with people over an extended period of time. And again, I can add people and take them away. It depends. Some of these are companies, some are individual people. You can have colors of cards, you can have notes, all these things. They live in the system, and again, it's analog, it's old school, but I'll tell you, it is so simple to keep up with people over an extended period of time. And in my life, the more simple you can get, the better. So if you ever got any questions about the Q or Tickler File or getting things done, I think this is a great way to keep up with a pretty large network of people.